Okay, hello again. So this is the third installment of the Boss of the SOC challenge. So if you have not yet have enough of seen Splunk challenges, so you've come to the right place. So let's begin. So what's the challenge details? Not much info, but anyways, this is a jam-packed challenge with 58 questions. So let's start. Of course, you need to download this first. Here are the guide. And then you can access it using the IP address of the virtual machine with a port of 8000. Once it's done, you are now ready to answer the challenge. As usual, for the Boss of the SOC challenges, the first question is a bonus. It's always about what company that makes the software we are using in this challenge or competition. And clearly, it's nothing but Splunk. As for the next, we are to list the IAM users that access the AWS service in the prot list AWS environment. So the answer format is like this, arranged in alphabetical. So this one, since we are dealing with AWS, it's important to know that AWS logs are commonly ingested or grouped using the AWS CloudTrail. So that's the source type we are using. So I have here the query already. So index of bots version 3 with the source type of AWS CloudTrail. So notice we have 6,000 events, but we are interested with the actual users being used in the AWS environment. So we have here the actual user. So we got 4. So what I did is just arrange it to alphabetical order. And that's actually the answer here. Okay, third question. What field would you use to alert that AWS API activity that have occurred without MFA? So the answer guidance is a JSON path like this. So actually what I did here, simply to Google this one. It's here. And the very first result will actually provide the answer. As you can see here, we have here a CloudWatch alarm rules, exactly the activity we are looking for. And if you are familiar with use cases or alerts via SIEM or any rule creation, you will eventually dig deeper first on the file pattern or condition, in this case this one. So this is actually the condition to trigger this specific activity. Thus, this is the JSON we are looking for. So that's how I arrived with the answer. So easy, right? Okay, so next question, what is the processor number used on web servers? So include and special character punctuation. So we're given here an example like this. So the processor number is actually the latter part. So here we will query the hardware events. So I have prepared here. Source type hardware. And we can easily find the answer here. We are just interested on the CPU number, which is actually this one. Okay. Okay, next question. So we are asked to find what event ID of the API call enabled public access. So this is an accidental action made by bud on the S3 bucket. Okay, so this is actually the answer. So to find this, we'll ask our friend again, Google. So in this case, I explicitly specify the website where we can find help regarding AWS, and we're interested with S3 bucket public access. The answer actually is in the first page, but on the lowest result, which is this one. So this article tells us who enabled public access to an S3 bucket, uh, wherein we can find here the event name of interest to us to find who made the changes to make an S3 bucket public. In this case, the event name we are interested in are put bucket ACL and put bucket policy. So having this in mind, we can now query for it. So this is the query. I have here the AWS CloudTrail source type, and we'll limit it to the event name of interest to us. So in this case, the put bucket policy and the put bucket ACL, resulting to two events. Okay, so we have not arranged it in chronological, so the answer really is the earliest one. So notice here we only have one user. So take note, in the succeeding questions, the username of Bud is bstall. So this is Bud's user account, and this is the specific event ID that made the change. So if you view the row, notice here how he grant a read permission to all users. Notice that, and that's how we arrive with the answer. Okay, continuing on number 6. So this is related to number 5. What is the name of the S3 bucket? It was made publicly accessible. So using the same query, this is the event we are interested in, wherein we found the event ID that made the S3 bucket accessible. But this time, we are searching for the bucket name, which is this one. So that's the answer, Kotlin web code. Up, we are to find the name of the text file. So it was obvious here again that we are looking for a text file that was successfully uploaded into the S3 bucket. Well, it was publicly accessible. So we are to use this one as our bucket name, the previous question. And let's check the hint. So this is a very helpful. So we are to use this source type instead of the CloudTrail. So I prepared the query here. Notice here, we use the S3 access logs and the bucket name Kotlin web code. And if you scan the results, notice here the file name or the file is actually parsed in the key field. So we have here 4 keys aggregated, meaning we have 4 possible answers. But really, since the question is looking for the text file, this is definitely our answer. Okay. So next, we are to look for the size in megabytes of the tar.gz file successfully uploaded in the S3 bucket when it was publicly accessible. So round it to 2 decimal place, and we are to use the 1024 for the byte conversion. Okay, so to do that, so we use our previous query, searching for access flags, but this time we will limit it to the asterisk.tar.gz extension. Okay, so we have 29 events, and notice here the actual size of the file is actually in the object size field. So we can do a calculation on that using stats and eval. Using eval, I mean. So we can add this query. We'll compute for the file size and convert it to a megabyte. So simply what we did here is convert this to 1 MB is 1024 bytes. So and then we do a stats count of that evaluated value. So notice here we have two possible questions, and rounding it to 2 decimal, we tried both, and the answer is actually okay. So number 9, an endpoint exhibits signs of coin mining activity. So what is the name of the first process to reach 100% CPU utilization time from this activity on this endpoint? So we are to include any special character or punctuation. Okay, to actually do that, we'll use the hint. So it says here we are to use the perfmon process as source type. So okay, let me walk it through again. So using this, notice the events actually contain the actual CPU utilization percentage, and it was parsed in this field. We're interested in the 100% CPU utilization, so let's change it and add reverse to sort it chronologically. And notice we are down to we are down to 134 events. So this is the very first event that caused 100% util, and we are to find what process is involved. The process is actually it's in the let's run it again. This one. That's weird. Actually, the answer is this one. Not sure why it appeared just now. Anyway, so this is actually the answer. So the instance or the process running can be found on the instance field. This is the answer. Chrome F5. So for number 10, the question is how many packages and dependent packages are installed by the cloud initialization script? Provide the number of installed packages and the dependent packages separated by comma without space. So the hint here helps a lot. So it says here we use this as the source type. So let's try. Actually, this is the query already, and we just have 23 events, though there's still a lot. Remember, when installing dependencies on Linux or Unix systems, you can actually see it on the logs. So we'll add it to our query to narrow down further, and it's narrowed down to 6 events. And on the very first resulting event, expand it, this one. And in the logs, the raw logs, you could actually see the number of installed packages and dependencies. So if we count it, this is 7. These 7 packages, and And these are 13 dependencies all in all. So that's the answer. Okay, so next question. What is the short host name of the only Prothly endpoint to actually mine Monero cryptocurrency? Okay, this is the answer. So in order to arrive that, so we will search the DNS events. So I have here already DNS. And of course, since we are looking for coin mining, these keywords are the first to come to mind. So coin and the Monero. So just search that and we will have just 28 events. And the answer actually comes up at the top. So as you can see here, this host is connecting to a coin mining domain. So this is actually our answer. Okay, so next, how many cryptocurrency mining destinations are visited by Prothly endpoint? So it's referring to this, how many crypto mining domains has it visited? So to do that, simply let's limit the search to this just this endpoint. Then let's now search how many query does it make pointing to a crypto mining domain. So as you can see here, there are 6 unique crypto mining domains that it has visited. So that's the answer. Okay, next, number 13, using Splunk's event order functions. What is the first seen signature ID of the coin miner threat according to Protlis semantic antivirus data? So to do this, we will actually search from the stream semantic EP security file, and we will sort it reverse order chronological. And the very first event, we can actually see this one. See, as you can see, this is a coin miner web attack signature. And since we are looking for the signature ID, this is the answer. Okay, there's your answer. Okay, question 14. According to Symantec's website, what is the severity of this specific coin miner threat? And the answer is medium. So simply Google this one. Remember our query later a while ago. We have found this signature ID. So simply Google it out and you will eventually find this website. Notice the signature ID is in the parameter and the severity is actually here, medium. Okay, so for number 15, what is the short host name of the only Frotly endpoint to show evidence of defeating the cryptocurrency threat? Okay, so example, this one. Instead of the whole host name with the domain name. So this one will just reuse the query we had for question 13. This one. And as you can notice, for this one, we have 46 events. And as we can notice here, this is a um, semantic web attack signature. And we can see here that the action for this one is actually black. And this is the host name. And we'll see the aggregated actions. All of these are blocked. And next, we will just check what is the involved or what are the involved host name. So it's already parsed here. So as you can see, only one host name and which all detections are blocked. So that's how we got the answer. Okay, number 16. What is the FQDN of the endpoint that is running a different operating system edition than the others? So in order to do this, let's search first. This one, what source type contains the keyword Windows, because it might be Windows 7, Windows 10, and as you can see here, we got WinHostMon having the most volume of events, so it might be worth checking it first. So let's now query Okay, see here, we'll now sample Windows 10, Windows 7, and we'll do a stats count by OS and host. Okay. And on the results, noticed we just have one outlier, this one, which has a Windows 10 Enterprise and the hostname of bstol-l compared to the rest having Windows 10 Pro. So this is our host in question, but we are asked to provide the FQDN. So to do that, if you're familiar with FQDN format, it has a common format of hostname.domain. So example, bstol.domain.com, okay, dot test domain, dot production domain. So in order to really find that, we'll simulate this pattern. So I use a wildcard in order to simulate the FQDN format using the hostname in question. Finally, you can see in the first resulting event we already caught the FQDN. So it could be found in the Microsoft Windows Security Auditing source name. Okay, so that's our answer. Okay, so next, according to Cisco NVM flow logs, how many seconds does the endpoint generate Monero cryptocurrency? So answer guidance, round to the nearest second without the unit of measure. So to do this, let's first search for the Cisco NVM flow events. So here's the query. So here, notice we are looking for the connection to CoinHive mining crypto mining domains. So notice here the domain is parsed in the DH field. And what's interesting for us with regards to the flow are the FSS, the flow start time, and the FES, flow start seconds, and the flow end seconds. So we need to get the difference of those that are connecting to coin mining domains. So if you recall, the coin mining domains have this pattern or domain. So let's limit our query to those. And you can also notice if we table it out, table DH. These are the coin mining domains we have seen earlier. And lastly, if we'll table the flow start seconds and FES, so notice these are the flow times that we need to get the difference and sum it all out to find the answer. So to do that, we will use this query. So notice we do a stats, the minimum value of the start and the max with the end seconds FES, and then we'll just evaluate the difference and output the result. So there you go. So that's one. Okay, next up, what kind of Splunk visualization was in the first file attachment that bad emails to fraudulent employees to illustrate the coin miner issue? Okay, 2 words. So here's the actual answer. To find that, we'll search the SMTP events. So here it is. And since we are looking for Bud, let's search for his email address as the sender. So we have here, so this is Bud, so let's add it to query. Okay, and notice here, the one the one interesting to us is those with attachment. So you can already see here the attached file name. So this is one email. The answer really is the one that has an attached file name of this one, image 2 and image 3. And we are interested in decoding the image 3. So to do that, go to the content, then copy the base64 raw data of image 3. Okay, so you can find it. So the first one is for image 2 here. The next one is for image 3. So for image 3, you have to copy the whole base64 raw data. So this is quite long, as you can see. Let's just scroll further down. Okay, image 2 is quite long. Okay, I think we have. Okay, just be careful in copying. Make sure to copy everything. Actually, once you do that, of course, just highlight them all. I can't seem to find, but I actually prepared it here. So this is the whole body of image 3. So simply copy it all and paste here, and then use a recipe from base64. The output is actually an image, so save output to a file. You can type here image3.jpg, and then I've edit. So this is the actual image, and the visualization used here is a column chart. Okay, so next, I am user access key generates the most distinct errors when attempting to access IAM resources. So we got a lot of help from the hint here. So we have to use the AWS CloudTrail source type and include the error codes, access denied, and no such entity exception. So given this, these are two distinct errors, so the most logical thing to do is so add them in the query. So we have here 18 events, but the question is, actually you can see the access key here. It's sparse on a access key ID field. So the next logical thing to do is to do a stats which has the highest count by access key ID, meaning this access key ID has 9 errors tied to it, though we have not distinct deduplicate it yet, so we really have two candidates. The first one is not really the answer, doesn't fit in, and the second one actually fits in as the answer. So okay, next, Bud accidentally commits AWS access keys to an external code repository. Shortly after, he receives a notification from AWS that the account has been compromised. So what is the support case ID that Amazon opens on his behalf? So this is the answer. So simply we search first by gut using Amazon support case. And hopefully we find some event containing that email and subject with the case number. And I show here we are we have here a subject, and we are on the right track. We caught the actual case number. A21 AWS access keys consist of two parts: an access key ID and a secret access key. Like this one. What is the secret access key of the key that was leaked to the external code repository? So this is the actual answer. So to do that, we use the previous query. We had this one. And notice we need to find the event containing the actual email with details of the incident, and you will find this. It says here, we have become aware, blah blah blah. The secret access key is leaked here in GitHub. So follow that link and you will get the secret access key, which is this one. Okay, so next, using the leak key, the adversary makes an authorized attempt to create a key for a specific resource. What is the name of that resource? So just one word. It's actually the answer. So remember in the previous questions, we found this access key ID. So let's use that for searching related events. And based on the question, we are looking for uh, create access key events, an authorized event related to this. So add that to your query, and you will have this one. Actually, this is interested in the error message. We already see here it's not authorized to perform on resource, and this is the actual resource name, which you can also see in the raw. Next, using the leak key, the adversary makes an authorized attempt to describe an account. So what is the full user agent string used for that request? So using the same query, we are interested in the event name, describe account attributes. So notice this will just return one event, and then check the user agent parsed. So, and you will see this. Okay, next up, the adversary attempts to launch an Ubuntu cloud image as the compromised IAM user. So what is the code name for that OS in the first attempt? So 2 words. So here it is. It's really an Ubuntu. This is the OS version. So to find that, we will query AWS Cloud Trail. And remember, this is the part of the compromised key resource. So we use this as keyword and we sort it chronological. And we actually have 600 events, 600 plus, so this is still a lot. So, and we're interested in event, so let's see the event name. So from here, we are really interested in run instances. So this is creation of new cloud instance. So add it to your query. And on the very first event, since it's sorted already chronologically, check the request parameters and instance set, and we're interested in this one, image ID. So we have to look it up, what is the OS version for that. So simply Google it, and the first results, it's already associated with Ubuntu. So this is the actual website. When you search that image ID, this is the exact Ubuntu version. Okay, and when we search Ubuntu 16.04, this is the name of the OS. So that's how we got this one. Okay, so this one next. Protly uses Amazon Route 53 for their DNS web service. What is the average length of the distinct third-level subdomains in the queries to brewertalk.com? So we are asked to round to 2 decimal places. Okay, so to do this, we will search CloudWatch logs as stated in the hint here. So I already have here CloudWatch and limited to Brewer Talk. So notice here, the source of interest is Lambda DNS. So we can now limit it to Lambda DNS. Okay. Okay, I have here prepared the query. Okay, as you can see, here are all the queries with the subdomains. We need to parse it out and calculate the length and average it in order to arrive at the answer. So to do that, prepared here a regex that will parse the subdomain. So if you will notice in the row, all seems have a prefix of this unique string. So we use it in the parsing. Then we'll just table it to see if it works. And it does. Okay. The next thing is to calculate the length and average it. So simply by using eval and stats like this. Okay, so evaluate the length using len and average it out. And we will have 8.09. So if you will type it, 8.09, it's invalid. So we round it up. There's your answer. Okay, next, 26. Using the payload data found in the memcache attack, what is the JPEG name, file name that is used by Taedong Gang to deface other brewery websites? So the answer. So based on the hint, we have to search the string UDP source type, found the injected string, separate out the payload. Then Google search the payload, and here we have to see the Google results. So it's more of a Google search. Okay, so to do that, you can search UDP. So the very first event is pretty interesting. You can see here the injected payload, which seems to be have a repeating pattern. And so that's the one unique string right here, and it repeats on and on. It's quite long. Then the other one, we can actually find another pattern here. This one will remove the string, and we can see another pattern here. Crypt70 call owns you. It goes on and on. And based from the hint, we have to search the payload. We have to Google search it. But unfortunately, there's not much results showing up. So, except for another write-up, which actually shows the answer. So that's why I came up in here. So okay, so at least we have found the injected payload. Okay, next, what is the full user agent string that uploaded the malicious link file to OneDrive? So this is the actual agent string, user agent string. So to find that, we will search the MS365 source type, this one, and we will limit it to the events containing this string, that link. So that link files are a shortcut to actual files. As you can see, we have 24 events. The question is what file was uploaded? What user agent uploaded the file? So here you can see this one, operation. So from here we can limit it further to just upload activity. So looking at the operation, we have 7 unique operations, and we're just interested in this one. So click it to add it to query, and we just have one, and this is the actual user agent. Okay, next, what external IP address is able to initiate successful logins to Fraudly? Note using an expired user account. So we found this. So we will search the AD login sign-in events. So using this source type. So we have 220 events, but notice we are looking for expired accounts. So it would be logical to search the login status failure first. So let's search for that failure. Okay, we just have 10 events, and then notice here we are interested in the failure reason containing expired error. So let's search for it. this one, add it to query. And here is actually the IP address of the one logging with expired accounts. And notice the username, sorry for the noise, so notice the username Kevin Lagerfield. So let's see now if it has indeed successful login. So let's change the query. And we can actually see the user display name that Kevin indeed has successful login even though this is an expired account. Okay, so next, according to Symantec's website, what is the discovery date of the malware in the macro enabled file? So this is the format of the date. And this is actually the answer. So we'll do a generic search for macro like this. And here notice it returned 19 events. Scrolling down, you will see an email event which contains this one. Notice this one, malware alert.txt. So okay, so this one indicates that the attachment is a malicious file and was stripped off by either the AV or any security solution scanning the emails. And you can notice here in the actual content, this one, malware. Actually, it's much easier to search it. Okay, so uh, this one is the strip file. So you can decode it using CyberChef, and you will get this. Okay, malware was detected. This is the actual attachment, a macro file, and this is the signature of that malware. Then, if you Google it out, you could actually search this one. Symantec is now Broadcom, remember? So this in here you will see this one. So this one was discovered on this day. Okay, next, what is the password for the user that was successfully created by the user root on the on-premises Linux system? So the hint here says we search the OS query results. Okay, and of course search the specific command line that adds a user. So here we have 219,000 and it needs familiarity with Linux. So if you're familiar with Linux, the command to add a user is this one, user add. And from 200,000, it will just narrow down to 2 events. So notice here the command line is parse here, colors.cmd line, and we got two results. The last one is actually the answer. I love David Verb. Okay, next, what is the name of the user that was created after the endpoint was compromised? Okay, so this is the user. So to find that, I'll show you the hint. The hint is asking us to look on Win event log. So meaning the compromise was done on a Windows machine. And if you are familiar with Windows, the way to add user by a command line is by the use of the net command and then the user and the add. So I just add it all in a query, and as you can see we just have 8 results, and on the very first event we already have a hint of what user was added. So you can see here the user SVC was added to the administrator group. So this is already our suspect account, so why was it added to admin group? And it further confirms here on the below event that this was the user created. See? With the password of 123, password 123, exclamation. Okay. And then for the next question, what is the process ID of the process listening on a lead port? So if you're not familiar with lead port, so first thing to do is to search it. So there, the lead port is on port 1337. So we have to query it, and by the way, the hint says we have to search OS query. Okay, OS query results. So this will be our query. See, we limit it to this port. And just scroll down, we just have 5 events to sift through. You can actually find it. Just expand the resulting events. Okay, I think I find it here. There you go. So we found it on the third event. So this is the process ID. I notice it's listening on port 1337, which is the lead port. So that's how we got this answer. Okay, so next we have a search query originating from an external IP. A protless mail server yields some interesting search terms. So what is the search string? So notice a very long search string. So the hint is to find it on the 0365 events. So we have searched it and we have around 977. So that's a lot. So notice here, if you recall in the previous question, there's this operation field which segregates the type of action performed. And we're really interested in the search query performed. But notice these are just top 10. There might be other operation that's related to search. So that's what we're going to query here. So notice here, I put a wildcard for the operations containing the search keyword. And then we have it narrowed down to just 14. So that's easier than 900 items. And the actual answer you can actually find via the operation, what you call that operation, the other one, other than the search query, it's actually in the, it's in the new mail. Let's see here, mailbox search. It's actually in the mailbox search. Okay, let me just limit it. We'll limit it, we'll just return 1. And here you can see the actual query performed. That's how we got this, Cromdale or beer or secret, financial or secret. Okay, next, what is the MD5 value of the downloaded file to Fyodor's endpoint system and used to scan Protless network? Okay, so this is actually the MD5. So to do that, we will search Sysmon Events. So right here, and we also added Fyodor keyword. So we actually have 4,000. So that's a lot. So skimming through the resulting events, we can see here the computer name of Fyodor's machine. So we need to add that. Have here, let's add that to our query. So to save you the time of typing, prepared it. Okay, so here we have narrowed it down. Still 4,000. And the next thing to do, observe here, uh, since we're dealing with Sysmon, observe here the event code. So we're interested in the event codes related to download. So if you Google it out, Sysmon, you will arrive at this page, and the event code related to download is the event code 11 or file create. So notice here, it contains info about downloads, including the temporary and download directories. So we will limit our search to that. Okay, so and then we will table out the target file name, means the downloaded files. So here's our query. Okay, we added event ID 11 and we will table the target file name. So from 4,000, we're down to 21. So this is easier to skim through. So we will just pick one that is suspicious. And here we notice here, very suspicious looking file name downloaded on temp folder. So that's very weird. So the next thing to do is search through Sysmon Events. This one. Search through Sysmon Events using this file path, image file path, and hopefully we will get the hash value. We'll just duplicate it. Okay, and you'll see. Okay, we just have one hash value. So look it up. Look up the MD5 value of it, the virus total, and we have this, a very malicious file. So this is the file used for scanning. Okay, so if we go here, okay, it's involved at APT41. It's an hack tool. You'll see it's an enum used for enumeration. Okay, there you go. Okay, 35 based on information gathered for question 31. What groups was this user assigned to after the endpoint was compromised? So we found two groups. So recall on question 31, we used this query. So since this is Windows, these are the pertinent keywords to search because it will actually use net user add /add. So here we have found one group added to administrators, and the next one is actually really this one. When the user was created, it's automatically added to users group. So we just have two group. Okay. Okay, next, at some point during the attack, a user's domain account is disabled. What is the email address of the user whose account gets disabled, and what is the email address of the user who disabled their account? Okay, so this is the answer. So to do that, we will search the MSAD audit events. So just have 31 events, and first observe the types of activity. Okay, notice here in the activity, we are interested in the update user. So let's filter for that. And we're down to 6 events. And the next thing we do, you will notice here targets and modified properties. So we can inspect what are the contents that have been modified here. So see here, properties name, and we are interested in this one, account enabled. So add that. We're down to 2 events. So let's expand again. So this one, modified properties. Okay. Notice here, account enabled, the old value is true and the new value is now false. So this was disabled, right? And to get the answer, so what account has been disabled as the first item, you can see it here. This one, this is the target user. And who did the disabling? You can see in the actor. This one, it's Fyodor. So it's BG's the account disabled and Fyodor the one who did the disabling. Okay, 37. Another set of phishing emails were sent to Frotly employees. So after the adversary gained a foothold. So this malicious content was detected and left behind a digital artifact. So we are asked to find its file name. This is actually the file. So recall, we had to search email events through SMTP stream. And if you recall previous questions, when AV detects something malicious, it will replace that attachment with the malware alert that text. So we'll use that string here. We just have one event to inspect. So this is what I'm saying. Since it's malicious, the AV strips it and replaces it with a notice of malware alert text. And in the content, you need to expand it. You will actually see the base64 encoding of that attachment. So this one. So this is the malware alert text, but it contains the base64 of the actual attachment that was stripped. And we need to decode that using a cyber chef. And here, I've already done it. Simply paste it and use a from base64 recipe, and you will get this. Okay, 38, based on the answer to question 37, what is the name of the executable embedded in the malware? Okay, so this is that executable. So we will search Sysmon Events and just do a wild search of containing XLSM, and we'll just have two events actually. And one event contains the target file name we found earlier, this one, if you recall. And to find the related executable, so you can open this or inspect the raw. In the image, you will find the related executable, hxtsr.exe. There you go. Next, how many unique IP addresses use the malicious link file that was sent? So we have here 7. So the hint says to search O365 management activity, and it's quite a lot. And it also says to search a specific operation. So here we will see the operation, and from here the one related to link is this one. So let's use that in our query, and we're down to 11 events, and we are asked, so as you can see here, this is actually the malicious link in the object ID, and we're asked for the number of unique IPs, client IPs that used it. So what we'll do here is use this query. So notice here we will dedupe the client IP and simply count it. And we have 7 unique client IPs. Okay, question 40. What port number the adversary used to download the attack tools? So if you follow along, I prepared here the query. We can search Sysmon Events here. Sysmon has network connection events via event code 3. So I'll introduce you to event ID 3. So if you Google Sysmon again, you can see this. So event ID 3 is related to network connection. And if you follow along on the previous questions, the computer involved in the malicious file downloads is this one. So we'll limit it to Fyodor's machine. And we will deduplicate the destination port and table it out. And we just have 11 results. And if you notice, most of them are common ports related to web. 443, 80, 8080, 445 is SMB. Okay, so FTP and the SSH is here as well. And that SMB as well. This one is SMB, web. But what stand out suspicious are the 3333 and the 3306. And guess what? The first one really fits as the answer. Okay. Okay, so 41. During the attack, 2 files are remotely streamed to the /tmp directory of the on-premises Linux server by the adversary. So what are the name of these files? Okay, so this is the answer. And to get this, we need to search this one, the OS query. and particularly the FIM. So FIM stands for File Integrity Monitoring. So we did search it right here, and as you notice, we are interested in FIM events, so we can narrow it further. Okay, using FIM events. So this is still quite a lot. And the next thing to do here is really enumerate the files. So the files can be seen on these fields, columns target fat. So okay, so it's right here. So in order for us to inspect it easily, we will duplicate it and table it out. And we can arrange it alphabetically. And sorry for the background noise. And from here you can see there's our interesting file names: block pipe, blard, TGC. This is seems pretty normal. And then it becomes suspicious again right here. Kernel, kernel C, kernel new. And this one is definitely suspicious. And this one as well. And the rest seems pretty normal, right? So what we're going to do is uh, we can use that to do a broad search. So using those interesting files right here, and notice we can really search something like this based on this query. You will see something like, I forgot to do reverse. Sort it by alphabetical. Here you can see interesting base64 strings in the process command line field, right? So there's quite a lot. Another one here. So what we'll do is table it out and deduplicate it. Okay, using this query. So save you the typing time, and we will just have 5 events. So notice in these 5 events we have 2 initial suspicious file. So the first one is this one, the kernel. The next is the definitely don't investigate this file.sh, and other entries involves kernel.c as well. So we can actually do a base64 decoding of this to see what the script really does, but just to fulfill this answer quickly, we can actually try that initial 2 files, and it actually fits as the answer. Okay, and the next one, based on the information gathered for question 40, what can be inferred to contain the attack tools? So include the extension. So the 40, remember we used Sysmon Events to search for the unusual port. So what we'll do here is we will now search HTTP events containing this port number. So if we do that, we can actually see just 3 events, but we're interested in the event containing destination port 3333, and this is the actual event. And as you can see here, the actual file downloaded is this one, logos.png. Okay, next, what is the first executable uploaded to the domain admin account's compromised endpoint system? So include files extension. So we can search again Sysmon here, and if you've been following along, this is still related to the previous question. And the previous question, the compromised machine is really Fyodor's account. So we can assume he's part of the domain admin. So it's been the one being attacked from previous question. So this will be our query. looking at Sysmon Events and Fedore's machine, and the event code 11, Sysmon, related to the download events. And we'll just search first exe file types and do it in chronological order, reverse. Okay, so notice here the very first .exe uploaded by the attacker, so it will be equivalent to being downloaded in this machine. Is this one, hdor.exe, which matches the answer. Okay, next, from what country is a small brute force or passive spy attack occurring against the Throttler web servers? So for here, we have used the hint, so we have to search Linux secure events. Okay, so I've had it typed in here, source type equals Linux secure, and it returned 350 events. So this is still quite a lot. We will limit it to just those containing uh, valid user. And we're down to 84. And notice here, it's just targeting two destination. Since we're looking for the lowest amount of brute force, we will first search this one, the one with lower events. Okay, down to 8. So there are 8 invalid attempts. And then we need to resolve the IP address and display the top events. So we'll use the top and the IP location function to resolve the country of this source IP. So when you enter that, it was just down to two countries, Russia or Vietnam, and Russia fits as the answer. Okay, next, adversary created a BCC rule to forward Throttler's email to his personal account. What is the value of the name parameter set to? So we will search here Office 365 events, but first we will profile the types of operation available, find anything related to rule creation, and if you noticed here, only one seems to be related, which is this one, new transport rule. So let's investigate this event. So we will now query that operation, and luckily it's just one event. Expand the parameters to inspect it further, and we already find the answer. So the name of this BCC rule was set to SOCs. Alright. Okay, 46. What is the password for the user that was created on the compromised endpoint? So recall, this was on previous question 31. We used this query. So the compromised endpoint is a Windows, and remember to add a Windows account by a command line. We use the net user add. So something like this, and scrolling down, could actually see this. The user added was svcvnc, and this is the password. Okay. Okay, next. The Taidong gang adversary sent Grace Hoppy an email bragging about the successful exfiltration of customer data. So how many fraudulent customer emails were exposed or revealed? This one, let's do a wide search like this. So searching all and with the keyword Grace Hoppy. And on the very first event, you will see this. So expand the content body. This is actually an email SMTP event. And very interesting, the subject says all your data belongs to us. So pretty related to exfiltration, and true enough, you will find in the body a link to a paste bin where the data was leaked or exfiltrated. So follow that paste bin link and you will find this. So you have to count the number of emails contained in this pastebin page, and it amounts to total of eight leaked emails. Right? Okay, next, what is the path of the URL being accessed by the command and control server? Okay, so this one will look through the PowerShell events, version of events. As you can see here, it's around 90 events, so this is still quite a lot. So let's narrow it down by limiting it further using event code 4104. So 4104 are the events related to script block logging. So those PowerShell events that uses base64 encoding. For attackers, these are specifically useful to obfuscate their commands, their malicious commands, and in order to avoid detection. So now we have cut it out to 48 events, and then we will limit it further by using this one. So only those containing this one, which signifies a URL like pattern with the open /. This will cut it out further to just 10 events, and then we table out the message so you can see. You can see here, for example, the first one. This is what I'm talking about. Here, this is using a base64 conversion or obfuscation. So if you decode this using CyberChef, notice it's actually pointing to a URL, which is the command and control IP. And notice the actual path is stored in the $T variable. So it goes on and on. So we need to parse this using regex and output it on a table. So to do that, prepare the query. One, we are parsing the URI path and storing it in the URI path variable. So we just have 3 possible answers, and the second one it fits as the answer. Okay. Okay, next, at least 2 Throttler endpoints contact the adversary's command and control infra. So what are their host names? So still related to the previous question. So just use the previous query, this one, related to the PowerShell 4104 event code. And notice the host. These are the 2 hosts that contacted that C2, and that's actually the answer. Easy, right? Okay. Next, who is Album Spain's cell phone provider carrier? Okay, so to do this, we do a wide search. So remember, we're looking for Album Stain or his account or his surname. So we're down to 317 events, and notice here, these events are all related to email. And in the fields, we can see from IP. So these probably are the source IP where Algonstein is sending email from. And the most probable IP to inspect is the one with the most count. So this is it. So basically do a whois of this IP. I use who that is, and notice here it's resolving to Verizon, and notice this is a wireless. So most probably this is Verizon wireless, which is really the answer. Okay. Okay, next, Microsoft Cloud Services often have a delay of lag between index time and event creation time. So for the entire day, what is the max lag in minutes? For the source type MSAAD sign in. So we are asked to round to the nearest minute without the unit of measure. We arrive at this answer. Okay, let's search. First, the source type MSAD sign in, and we will display both the index time and the event time. Notice here we use eval to display the index time, and we have just table it out. So you see the comparison. Notice here the index time is delayed by around 5 minutes here, the first event, and so forth and so on. So, okay. So we need to, later on, we need to get the difference of those and really get the total, the max lag in minutes. Okay, so the next thing to do is to convert these times to epoch. So here's my query. Okay, so we are using eval again on those and just converting them to epoch format for both index and event time, and just outputting it in a table so you could notice the difference. Notice the epoch is in decimal format so that we could subtract and get the difference. Okay, and then the next, so remember, index time always comes after event time, so we'll have to subtract event time from index time. Okay, then get the max and divide by 60. So prepare the script. So very long query. Okay, and execute, and you will arrive at this. The maximum lag is 3049 seconds. Divide that by 60. We have 50.81, or round up to 51 minutes. Okay, according to Malware's advertising research, how is the beer meant to be enjoyed? Okay, this is the answer. Of course, responsibly. So we will search here. Uh, sorry, code 42 security events. So based on the hint, it actually contains or aggregates file names. So interesting file names. Notice here, this one is quite related to the question, advertising. So simply Google this out. Notice here it it reveals the answer. Beer is meant to be enjoyed responsibly. Okay. Okay, 53. What is the text displayed on line 2 of the file used to escalate Tomcat 8's permission to root? So this is actually the line, second line. Recall on question 41, we actually did a query like this, wherein we found the suspicious files uploaded by the adversary on the temp folder. So the very first one is what we need to investigate. So simply copy the base64 string of the first resulting event. Once you did that, paste it to Cyberchef, use the from base64 recipe, and you will actually find this decoded string. This is actually the second line, which is the answer. Okay, next, one of the files uploaded by Taedonggang contains a word that is much larger in font size than any other in the file. So what is that word? So here, show you, we'll reuse the same query as of number 53, this one, but this time we will inspect the base64 for this event, this item. Definitely don't investigate this file .sh, and that's what we're about to do, investigate the base64 string. So I've copied it and pasted it in the cyber chef. And notice here, if you scroll down, you will see this readable string. And it kind of gives a hint that this might be actually a photo. Due to this photo is bad, sorry. So what you need to do is save output to a file. Once you have saved it, okay, and you will see this. Okay, next, what roughly VPN user generated the most traffic? Okay, so here we have to search Cisco ASA VPN events. Okay, see, it's quite a lot. And notice here there are 4 actions, and not all of them are showing usernames. So you have to skim through these events, and somewhere there you can notice here for the tear down action. So this is actually a tear down. It is showing the VPN user. So we can use that to our query. Action tear down, limit it, and we are down to just 80k to 4,800 events. And what we need to do next is, notice here the user is not really parsed, so we need to parse it and sum up the bytes. This one. So we could tell which user has the most traffic. Okay, I actually prepared here a query. Notice here, we limit it to tear down containing this pattern. So that pattern is related to the username enclosed in open parentheses and close parentheses. Then we parse out the user. Okay, let's go back here in the sample. Oh, I've shown it. Okay, for example here, we will parse out the user, pserv. Then we will table the bytes in the user and get the total sum of bytes per user and sort it descending. So okay, as you can see in the result, this user has the most VPN traffic. Okay, so the next under 56, using Splunk commands only. What is the upper fence value of the interquartile range of the count of event code 4688 by Windows host over the entire day? Use a 1.5 multiplier. So we are given the formula, this one. So basically, Q3 is just the third quarter or the third part of a quartile, interquartile. The whole is divided by 4 quartiles. So Q3 is the third portion, and then IQR is basically computed as quartile 75 minus quartile 25. Okay, it's actually in the hint, this one. So what we did here is define everything. So IQR is computed as mentioned by subtracting 75 from the result of perk 75. So our formula will be this one. So we just substituted the value of IQR in our overall formula, and this will be the actual query. So notice here. Remember, IQR is perk 75 minus perk 25. And once we have executed it, it will give us the result of 1368. Okay. Okay. Last 57, second to the last. What's the CVE of the vulnerability that escalated permissions on Linux host? Okay, submit the CVE number. So we actually found this. So recall this is related to the question 53. So we'll use the same query, this one, and we actually investigate again or decode the base64 string from the very first event. So simply copy all of this base64 code down to the end, decode it using CyberChef, and copy portions of it and try to Google it out. So what I did here, I Google it and just added CVE keyword, and actually the answer pretty much appears on the very first result, this one. Okay. Okay, next, what is the CVE of the vulnerability that was exploited to run commands on the Linux host named hot? Okay, so we're down to our last question. So to do that, first comes to mind is the hints actually did not help me. So what comes to mind, since this Linux host was being remotely exploited, I tried to search first the HTTP events containing this one, containing the host host, and since this was an exploit via web, we need to inspect first the URI path to see if anything is out of the ordinary. So index.php looks fine. Okay, save gangster.action. Oh, this is quite suspicious. This looks fine, looks normal. This one we investigated a while. This is suspicious as well, but this is definitely suspicious. Deprecated CSS and style CSS are quite normal URI paths. So we first search this one, save gangster.action. Then we added the CVE keyword, and we have found this is related to this vulnerability, analysis of RCE, and it really fits as the answer. Congrats! So hope you enjoyed learning Splunk with me. Next time, guys. See you around. See you on the next videos.